Hi guys, Vanessa here, alcoholic. Sobriety date's October 8th, 2017, and this is like the third time I'm recording this, so let's make this the last one. All right, I'm going to be reading from Keep It Simple, Daily Meditations for 12-Step Beginnings and Renewal. I'm going to be reading today's January 19th, right? Or January 3rd, okay. And what happens is I'm going to read through this. I'm going to reflect on it, kind of share my experience with it, and then I'm going to read through it again. And then I encourage you to go ahead and write any comments or your reflections, your thoughts, your experience with the reading in the comments. Okay, all right, so let's get started. The junkie can never start to cure himself until he recognizes his true condition. Malcolm X. Now we know what the problem is. Now we can do something about it. The truth of our problem is we can't handle alcohol or other drugs. They handle us. They control us. The steps ask us to face the truth, and the truth sets us free. What a wonderful gift. We feared the truth, but now it's our friend. It's a relief. Facing the truth means we're honest, and honesty is our best friend in recovery. It's like a cozy fire on a winter's night. Honesty is how we get well. It's also what will keep us well. Do I truly believe I can't use alcohol or other drugs? Prayer for the day. God, help me see my illness for what it is. It's my enemy. Help me see that honesty is my best friend. Action for the day. Today, I'll take 15 minutes to think about what my true condition was when I was drinking and drugging, and I'll think about what my true condition is now. Okay, I know if you've been here a minute, you may have heard me talk about honesty before. And I will continue to preach it and work on it because I am not 100% honest all the time. It is something that I know is vital to my being, though, to my spiritual health, to my relationships, to my everything, in every single way that I operate in this world. It needs to be founded on the truth and in honesty, right? And so if I stray too far from that, or if I become too comfortable in any kind of dishonesty, I am automatically placing my health, my life, perhaps the lives of other people, and for sure my recovery and my sobriety on the line. These are the first things that'll go when I begin to be dishonest. And this is also why I am careful to only surround myself with people who are honest, even if their honesty hurts my feelings. If I know that it's coming from a place of love and it's coming from a place of genuine respect, I will always value that and that person over somebody who lies to me to spare my feelings or to spare their feelings or whatever it is, right? Like that is just how, I mean, of course I will have my feelings hurt or I will be disappointed with news sometimes, but I will always prefer that over dishonesty. And more than anything, I need to have that standard within myself. And so when the times where I find myself in a delusion, when a delusion is just a lie to ourselves, right? And I think that it's okay to be a little delulu sometimes until we get to where we need to get to, with the understanding and the intention that we know that we're doing that, right? And I think about this in certain aspects where like maybe my experience has shown me that I'm not, I don't know, maybe I don't have certain skills or something that I need to do. And I'm like, but with enough practice, surely I'll be able to attain this thing or whatever, right? Maybe there's a little bit delusion there. Maybe it's just psyching myself up to get something done that I need to get done. But if I'm lying to myself about like a problem, then I can't solve a problem that I say doesn't exist, right? So my alcoholism, my drinking was that for a long time. And even when I got sober, even when I was going to the meetings, when I was in the sober living, I still had reluctancy to say that it was a problem, that it was going to be a lifelong thing, that never again would I be able to enjoy a cocktail or whiskey, like I had a really hard time understanding and grasping that until I didn't, until I realized, until I was like beaten into the floor, into the ground, into basically almost my death. And not necessarily physically, although I did have some like physical things, but just like emotionally, when I was really just kind of beat into submission and been like, all right, I get it. I can't drink. I can't even have one drink. And even if I do have that one drink, the next time I'm going to say, well, I've had one drink last time, so surely it can take two drinks this time. And then I'm off to the races, And the thing is that it's like Russian roulette. It's just, playing with a gun that has just like one bullet in there, right? Like you just don't know when that shot's going to ring off. And it is like that. My experience has shown me out a decade that is what my drinking experience was, that sometimes it would be okay, but the majority of the time it wasn't. And it continued to get worse. And so even if I were to try to drink today, it could be like, oh, I could get away with it maybe once or twice or three times. But then I don't know when the circumstances, when the emotions, when the own situation is going to occur, and maybe none of it. I could have gotten drunk on completely peaceful and beautiful sunny day, blue skies, right? Where I'm just gonna go off to the races and lose my shit and lose everything that I've worked really hard to accomplish, right? And to just get and to just, which may not be a lot to some people, but just having some sense of security and peace is everything to me. And I'm really hesitant and reluctant to give anything away that might jeopardize that. So having this honesty, it is our best friend. And I like, I don't know why they say it's a cozy fire on a winter's night. I guess it is comforting that at the end of the day, I just know this truth about myself, that if nothing else is true, I guess I know that I'm an alcoholic. And I do know that and not that, and it's difficult to get into in these readings, but it's not just the alcohol that's the problem. It's the alcohol is a symptom of something a little bit deeper beneath the surface that I needed to address, right? And like that is where my hope comes from, because I've seen that in my ability to open up to the truth that there is something lingering just beneath the surface that I tried to correct with alcohol and drugs and other compulsive behaviors, that in my openness to accept this uneasiness, this restlessness, this irritability, this discontentedness that lies just beneath the surface of the alcoholism, that when I'm beginning to approach that as an actual problem of this dissatisfaction in my life that I think that I need to escape from, then I'm able to really tap into the possibility of what is possible when I am addressing that at the core. I made a lot of life changes when I got sober. I had to stop hanging out with certain people in certain places. I had to completely shift my mindset about how I operated in this world because of the honesty that I had come to about my own drinking and about my own ways that I would try to escape feelings that I found were uncomfortable, right? But it took a lot of honesty to get there. And I think that there are always, it's the peeling back the layers of the onion. I think that there are always new truths to be discovered. And just last year, I discovered so many truths around my family and how I interpreted the story of my family. Can you guys hear that beeping? I just got a new air fryer and it is smelling like burnt plastic in here. I really hope that I removed the packaging before I tried to cook something, but we will see later on when I open that up, I guess. Okay, and so yeah, I think that it's beautiful to relate into our problem with drugs and alcohol, but it could also be the truth of a relationship, like this is just not a relationship that's gonna work. We're just never gonna see eye to eye, or like I'm just not gonna get what my needs met by this person. Or it can be in our job, in our career. This is just not going to be the long-term situation that I want, even if the pay is great or the benefits are great or anyone else would kill for this job. It just doesn't satisfy my soul. So like having that honesty within self, it automatically will begin to align and correct you internally before you'll start to see anything externally start to change around you, because you'll start to need, but the responsibility on yourself to begin to take action towards aligning your life with your inner truth is going to start weighing on you. And that can be a really uncomfortable place to be, but it is honestly such a sweet spot because that's where all of your power lies, actually. And I like to think about that now, even with my health stuff, right? So I had a lot of family stuff, but also my health stuff. I was like, okay, but we really need to reel it in with like actually looking at like our nutrients. Are we getting enough nutrient dense food? Are we moving our bodies enough? Am I moving my body enough to like do it justice, to give it what it needs? Am I resting enough? Am I resting deeply enough? Am I hydrating? What else can I do to make sure that this body that I have is in the best, without also being super restrictive or obsessive about it, right? But to show myself that I respect myself enough to take care of myself. And so having some truths around that, truths around my finances, it's like, why am I not in this place financially? You really looking at let's look at the data. Let's look at the facts here and look at the bank statements. Where is your money going, Vanessa? And checking that out and being like, well, that's a little rough. Yeah, I will tell you, I had some eye-opening experiences creating a budget when actually sitting down and looking line by line at where my money was going. And it was just I just kind of remember this idea that I had that was kind of instilled in me when I began tithing at church, that like wherever you're giving your money to, like that's what you're actually worshiping. And of course, in my alcoholism, it was all booze. And then before that, it was a lot of like just really shallow stuff. Like I was really into like makeup and just like hair care and like personal care type of products. And then before that, it was just I mean, I don't know. I was really into purses for a time. And so like I was spending a lot of money on purses. So it's like I've gone through all these evolutions of myself where I'm just like, okay, none of these things. And then during the pandemic and maybe after that, and even currently I've had some kind of relapses into this. It's like DoorDash and food and like sweets and overindulging in those types of things that are not good for my body. It's not that they're bad in general. It's just that I overindulge, right? And it's like, yeah, I can have a line item of these things, even just like once a week, every month. But to have this be the majority of where my money is going every month is not acceptable to me. I find that objectionable, right? And so, but facing that honesty, it's an ugly truth of myself. It's embarrassing. It's like, really, Vanessa, you can't 7 years into sobriety and you can't regulate your emotions enough to not like block to like peanut butter cups to like make yourself feel better. Like, let's reel it in a little bit. So, but it is a wonderful gift. Honesty is a gift when we're ready to appreciate it for that. Because when we are really on the same page with ourselves, within ourselves, then we begin to really see how much power we can have in a situation by taking certain actions towards getting a better result of like what we know we are not only capable of, but deserving of. Right. I'm not a fan of the prayer. And I think that the crux of this is I have a really, there's a lot of I have a difficulty with this really adversarial relationship that we can have with things that don't suit us. So even though, yes, this is an illness, sure, we understand addiction as a disease, right? It's my enemy. Okay, like I know that there's like a huge like fuck fentanyl, fuck cancer, this type of thing, but there's like such an aggression to that. I feel like ultimately what we need to do is just understand. And actually, no, I'm not gonna say that this is what you need to do. I'm gonna say this is what I had to do. I had to become less adversarial, less contentious, less angered by this and make peace with this is the situation and this is the power that I do have from it and this is the power that I don't have from it. And that overall more loving, compassionate acceptance for myself and for other people who struggle with this has really made all the difference to me. I would not ever, I mean, I know, yeah, my addiction wants to kill me. Okay, I understand that. I don't, but people might want to kill me. Are they also my enemy? I don't believe in that line of thinking. What do you think about that? I know that that's probably not it just doesn't feel true. I mean, if it helps you to see it that way, go ahead and see it that way. I just know that the book promises, we have ceased fighting everything and everybody. And even alcohol, and like alcohol is like the afterthought to that, right? It's like I don't want to think of things as my enemy. I'm not, it doesn't it, then I'm in an eternal state of defensiveness and self-protection, and that's not how I want to choose to live my life. So if you find it helpful for you and you can do that without it being harmful to your spiritual health, then of course go ahead and see these things as your enemy. But to me, I don't find that. I don't think that's a productive prayer for me. And yeah, and then oh yeah, so taking the 15 minutes, think about what my true condition was when I was drinking. I was a mess, you guys. I mean, every other every other video on here is about how messy I was as a drunk. I was sloppy, I was blackout drunk, I was very selfish, I was run by fear. I had zero concern for anybody else's feelings. I was incredibly self-centered. I was reckless with other people's feelings, with my own feelings, with my own money, with my body, with all relationships, with any opportunity that I was given. I was just kind of this little tornado. And even when my outward actions didn't negatively impact people, internally, I still felt incredibly terrible about myself because I knew that I should be and I could be doing better, but I didn't know how to get there and I didn't know how to do things differently. And it was only until I finally succumbed to the idea that this common denominator of alcohol that was involved in the majority of my problems might have something to do with it, that I was able to think like, okay, well, how do I get myself into a position to where I am in a life that I don't need to escape from, right? It is that cliche. And when I tell people I don't think about drinking, the only time that I really thought about drinking when getting sober was the first like 30 days was really difficult. And then a few months later, when I got off of my psych meds, that was a huge struggle. That was my closest that had been to relapse. So I'm grateful for that. The complete desire for drinking has completely been removed for me. There is nothing for me to gain from drinking. And I had good times drinking too, by the way, I had good times. I do sometimes actually crave like the taste of a certain drink sometimes, but it's not anything that's like, oh, I would really risk my entire my job and my driver's license and all this other stuff and my family and my friends for a tasting, a Jack and Coke. Like it's not gonna happen. So yeah, I think if you could really get honest, and sometimes we do have the delusion that happens of like glamorizing some of those great times. It's like, no, we had so much fun. We were doing this, we are doing that. I met all these people. I got into this place and like blah, blah, blah. But I say, okay, but then what was the next day like? What was your next month like? What was, the day after like? What were you feeling? What was the anxiety like? What were the repercussions of those 2 hours of a good time before you completely lost control and blacked out and had a bad time? And so sometimes for me, especially like the first 2 years that I was trying to get sober, I was like, maybe it wasn't ever that bad, but I do remember the good times that I had. And it was like, no, it was that bad and it got worse. But I had to, I guess, wait for it to get worse before I could get better, I guess. I don't know. Don't let that be your case, though. You don't have to let it get worse before you get better. If you feel like you're struggling with alcohol or other substances or behaviors, there's definitely help out there. And there's definitely, I mean, you could type in anything anonymous, like, Overeaters Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Over Shopping. Debtors Anonymous is something that I've been looking into, actually. I think is really interesting. I mean, you could do anything anonymous, and there's a community to support you in your recovery. So that is all that I have got. I would love to hear your guys' response to this. I'm going to go ahead and read through it again and then hope that whatever I was cooking in the air fryer is not burnt to a crisp. January 13th, the junkie can never start to cure himself until he recognizes his true condition. Malcolm X. Now we know what the problem is. Now we can do something about it. The truth of our problem is we can't handle alcohol or other drugs. They handle us. They control us. The steps ask us to face the truth, and the truth sets us free. What a wonderful gift. We feared the truth, and now it's our friend. It's a relief. Facing the truth means we're honest, and honesty is our best friend in recovery. It's like a cozy fire on a winter's night. Honesty is how we get well. It's also what will keep us well. Do I truly believe I can't use alcohol or other drugs? Prayer for the day. Higher power, help me see my illness for what it is. It's my enemy. Help me see that honesty is my best friend. Action for the day. Today, I'll take 15 minutes to think about what my true condition was when I was drinking and drugging, and I'll think about what my true condition is now. All right, that's it for now. I love you guys. Bye.